Welcome to the teaching room for another one of our lockdown lesson tips. I think this is about number 7 we've done now, might be number 8. It's a few more than we were hoping we'd have to do, but hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll be back here playing golf and we won't need lockdown lesson tips anymore. Anyway, in the meantime, today we're going to give you another lesson tip, and this today is going to be about the backswing, and this tip that we leave you with at the end of this video is one of the simplest you can have. It's probably one that most of you may have heard before, but I'm just going to explain to you a little bit about why we want you to use this tip and how it affects your backswing. All right, now the best tips are the ones that take the simplest in terms of thought, yet achieve the most in your swing. And I think this one today is one that falls into that category. So one of the things we see with the backswing, one of the biggest problems we see, is what we call having problems with the sequencing of the backswing. So it's very important that we get the backswing in the right sequence. Now that sounds a bit complicated, but it's really not. All that's describing, that term is describing is you know, what moves first, what moves second, what moves third, something like that. Now, the golf swing happens so quickly that you haven't got time to think about all of those three things, because the backswing is gone in less than half a second. But what we need to do is come up with a simple thought that will help us get those things to fall into place. Now, one of the things we most of you would know, or maybe you do, maybe you don't, is that on the backswing, the shoulders turn twice as much as the hips. And given that fact, it makes sense that the sequence of the backswing needs to be that the upper body needs to get a bit of a head start on the lower body. If the lower body moves at the same pace as the upper body, we're going to run into problems with the sequencing and getting that ratio of shoulders and hips correct at the top of the backswing. So if I just take this stick and I put this through these belt holes here, just suck in the tummy there. Now this will be you'll see this will be able to show us where my hips are aligned. If we set up to a straight shot, this is the target line here. Most of you know for a straight shot you want your toe stance line, your hips and your shoulders, when you set up to the shot, to be parallel with the target line. Now, as we go back in the backswing, it'll look something like this. Now you can see here that the shoulders have turned twice as much as the hips. If I show you from this direction, you can probably see it a bit better now. So now, the shoulders have turned 90 degrees, roughly, but my hips have turned about half that much. Now, if I go back and I start too quickly and I get a bit anxious and I rush the backswing straight off the ball, what tends to happen is the hips tend to go too early. And now I get halfway into my backswing and my hips have turned the same amount as my shoulders. Now, that's a real no-no. I haven't got time to go into all the details about that right now, but if we do that move, we have real problems with the sequence of the backswing, which will lead to problems on the downswing, and we have to make lots of compensations. It's very important that you get that ratio of the shoulders and the hips correct. Now, the way that we can ensure that we get that right is when we start the swing, and I'm talking here not just almost the first foot of the backswing. If we can just start that backswing very deliberately, just the first foot, so this first bit here, what you'll see here is as I'm moving that first foot or 2 foot, my arms, my hands and my shoulders are moving, but my hips aren't really doing anything. And if we can just start really slowly, generally, what we'll find is that the upper body, the arms and the hands will move, but the lower body will stay fairly quiet, and that's what we want. So the tip for today is just in the first foot off the ball, if you can just start back very slowly. Sometimes it's only the first 8 inches, just very slow, and then you can let it speed up. Then the sequencing of the backswing should be correct. If I just demonstrate here, and again, you see the hips don't really move much at all early in the swing. Okay, so we do want the hips to turn 45 degrees or thereabouts, but we don't want them to turn in the first initial part of the backswing. Start first with the shoulders and the arms, because they've got twice as far to turn as the hips. So that's my tip for today. Just very deliberate and very slow at the start of the backswing. Good luck, and as I said, hopefully we'll see you all in about 2 weeks.